Tuesday. It's the Raw Leadership Talk. And we are glad to be here today. 5 minutes late. But they say better late than never. Where are you joining us from? Wonderful discussion we're going to have today. And we would like you to tune in and stay tuned. Featuring Salem Lorot today, Legal Counsel of the Parliament of Kenya. We are discussing the Parliament, the lawmaking process in Parliament. And you don't want to miss this. Where are you tuning in from? It will be good to hear from you. Talk to us. Talk to us. Engage us. Be part of this discussion. Wonderful discussion we're going to have today. Just 1 minute of listening to Hyundai Messiah Water Music before we get into the discussion of the day. Where are you tuning in from? You can post your location even as we go into the discussion of the day. When it's Tuesday, it's the Raw Leadership Talk. MC Richie tuning in from Kitengela. Thank you very much. To the Mugera tuned in from Kajiado County. We are glad you're here. When it's Tuesday, it's the Raw Leadership Talk. We keep it raw here. We impact you, we build you, and we engage with you through this wonderful discussion. And today we are looking at the lawmaking process in Parliament. And I'm sure this is a discussion that you want to be engaged in. Salem, how are you?
Fine, thank you, my coach.
Good. Maybe you want to introduce yourself to our viewers, even as we begin this wonderful discussion.
Thank you so much. First of all, my apologies for the technical hitches on my end. I actually thought that my laptop would have behaved, but it did not. But those are the vagaries of technology. My name is Salem Lorot. I'm a legal counsel in the Parliament of Kenya. I've been working as a legal counsel since 2014. My major role is to assist members of Parliament to draft legislation and to offer advice, legal advice on parliamentary matters. And I'm happy to be here.
Glad to have you. Salem, bring us to speed now that you have said your main work is to assist members of Parliament in and advise them on the lawmaking process. Bring us to speed on the lawmaking process in Parliament. And if you can, who is responsible for designing of the bills? Is it the members of Parliament or the parliamentary legal team?
Thank you, Coach. To answer your question, I can say broadly that there are two processes that go on in Parliament. One is called the pre-publication scrutiny and budget committee recommendation on one hand, and the other stages which involves the first reading, the second reading, the committee of the whole house, the third reading, and so on. So probably most members of the public might not be aware about the pre-publication scrutiny. Most will be aware about the first reading, the second reading, the committee of the whole house, third reading, and so on. So probably you'll allow me to speak a little bit about the pre-publication scrutiny.
Go on.
And here we are referring to legislative proposals. A legislative proposal is a proposed law that comes before we have a bill in Parliament. So it will be an idea that emanates from a member of Parliament. It could be an individual member of Parliament. It could be a parliamentary party. It could be a committee, a parliamentary committee. Those are the various ways in which a legislative proposal can emanate. So that's the first bit. The second bit is that before they're introduced in Parliament, the committee or a member of Parliament has to seek the approval of the Speaker. So the Speaker has to approve the introduction of a legislative proposal. So once the Speaker has approved that, that is the only time when this proposal will officially begin its processes within Parliament. So the Speaker will approve that legislation, the legislative proposal in Parliament, and the clerk has within his disposal the services of the staff who work in Parliament, among them a legal counsel or legislative drafters who will assist either the parliamentary committees or individual members of Parliament to draft that legislation in the proper form. And once that has been drafted, it's usually a consultation that goes on between the legal counsel and either the parliamentary committee or a member of Parliament. And once they agree in terms of form and content of that legislative proposal, then that is when it's going to be submitted to the first of all, it will be submitted to the Parliamentary Budget Office. We have a Parliamentary Budget Office. It's a statutory body established through an Act of Parliament, and they usually advise on whether that legislative proposal is amenable or not. In a layman's language, it means that is that a proposal that has financial implication. That is the simplest way I can define it. And if they indicate that they certify that that proposal is amenable, then that proposal will be submitted to the Budget and Appropriations Committee. The Budget and Appropriations Committee will take 21 days to look at the financial implications of that proposal, and they'll give their recommendation within 21 days. When they give that recommendation within 21 days, they'll have the option of recommending that I should proceed. That's the first option. The second option, they can recommend that I should not proceed. Probably they're looking at the financial implications and they're not persuaded that that proposal is not one that should proceed. And even when they're doing this, the requirement is that they need to consult the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury to give his opinions on that, and it will inform the committee on the recommendation they'll give. So the first recommendation will be that they might recommend that the proposal should proceed to the next stage. The second option, they can recommend that the proposal can proceed, but subject to certain certain amendments. And once the proposal goes through that stage, it goes to the next stage, which is the committal to the relevant departmental committee. And even before that, that proposal, the recommendation, that report has to be submitted to the Speaker. The Speaker will have the final say on how it will proceed.
Let me understand something up to there.
Yes.
Up to there, it's not yet, the bill-making process has not begun.
Yes,
We're still talking about a recommendation still.
Yes. Actually, at that stage, we are talking about the Budget Committee recommendations, Budget and Appropriations Committee recommendations. And once that stage has been completed by the Budget and Appropriations Committee, depending on the recommendation, it will inform the next stages. If the Budget and Appropriations Committee recommends that it should not proceed, then it actually means that there are high chances that that proposal will die at that stage if the Speaker will not intervene and probably approve otherwise. After that, there is the next stage, where we talk about the committal of that proposal to the relevant departmental committee. And one thing I want to point out is that the way the standing orders have been structured, the process will be different when it is a proposal sponsored by a committee, or a proposal sponsored by the relevant by a member of parliament, an individual member. So that if it is a legislative proposal that has been sponsored by the committee, then it means that after it goes through that first stage, the next stage will be relatively shorter, because it's a bill which has been sponsored by the chairperson of the committee. But if it's a proposal which has been sponsored by a member, what it means is that if it has been, the Budget and Appropriations Committee has recommended that it should proceed, and the Speaker approves that, then it will take another 21 days. The relevant committee, for instance, if it's a proposal touching on health matters, for instance, it will be submitted, it will be committed to the health committee, a departmental committee in the National Assembly. That committee will look at the policy issues of that proposal. And it will invite the Attorney General, the Kenya Law Reform Commission, and other relevant stakeholders. But at this stage, it usually limits the kind of stakeholders who submit comments, because in any case, when the proposal has been recommended to be published as a bill, there'll be another opportunity during public participation to invite comments from the general members of the public. But at this stage, they'll just invite a few stakeholders. Yes.
Okay. Right there, then do citizens have a say in proposing laws so that they can be processed in parliament? Just like you're talking about a committee can propose, individual members of parliament can also propose. Do members of the public have a say in proposing laws in parliament?
I think when you look at the Constitution, it's progressive.
Yes.
Progressive in the sense that it has enabled the citizens to participate in the lawmaking process. One avenue is where a member of public will submit a petition. In that petition, the member of public can request the National Assembly either to amend or enact a particular legislation. So if you look at Article 119, the way Article 119 of the Constitution has been couched, a citizen has that right to recommend, to submit a petition, and that petition will indicate, will actually pray to the National Assembly either to amend or to enact a legislation. Then number two, if you look at the articles of the Constitution, particularly Article 1, the sovereign power of the people, they can exercise that directly or indirectly through the elected representatives. So directly in the sense that they can submit petitions to the National Assembly, and indirectly through submission of comments on particular bills, and which comments will be incorporated by the committees when considering them.
That's wonderful. I think that's very, very wonderful, and wonderful knowledge for people to get to know the lawmaking process in Parliament. And some of us who are not part of the parliamentarians, how do we forward our proposals, and making sure that we are part and parcel of the lawmaking process in Parliament. Arthur Mbugo says he's tuned in. Robert Wafula, Daniel Musibi also tuned in. If you have any idea, any observation, any question, please post it to us, even though we have very limited time today. But back to you, Salem. How long does it take for a bill to become law from the proposal, designing, debates, passing, signing, and that particular bill now coming into force as a law? How long does that take?
Thank you, Dan. You've indicated a bill, so
Yes.
probably you're not taking into consideration the proposals, the stages in which a legislative proposal will go through. But
Yes.
probably I can just indicate that
Yes.
for a proposal, once the speaker has approved it and it has been drafted, the standing orders provide that in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, so they're supposed to take 21 days before they submit a report.
Okay.
And if a legislative proposal has passed through that stage,
Yes.
and for instance, it is by a member of parliament, an individual member of parliament, under a relevant committee on the next stage, it will take another 21 days. But with a committee-sponsored proposal, it will take a shorter time. And then now we are talking about around 42 days within the two committees. And then if it is published as a bill, when it's first read in the House, first of all, once it has been published in the Kenya Gazette, what the standing orders say is, except for certain legislations, suppose the maturity period is supposed to be 14 days. Except for a number of legislations which take 7 days, a shorter time. And then for the second reading, once the first reading has been done, and the bill has been committed to the relevant committee, the committee is supposed to take 21 days in considering it and tabling a report. And then depending on the House Business Committee, and I'm just talking it generally because there are exceptions again, the House Business Committee usually prioritizes business before the House. So the 21 days will be taken by the committee for consideration. And then the committee will table a report, its report. Once it tables a report, and there's a debate in the House, between that second reading and the committee of the whole House, it's upon the House Business Committee to prioritize. So the standing orders do not provide clear timelines on that. It only indicates that the House Business Committee has that power, probably to prioritize that bill. Once it comes for the committee of the whole House, where the House will consider amendments, clause by clause amendments to the bill, and once they finalize that, the committee of the whole House, then we'll have the third reading. Between the committee of the whole House and the third reading, again, the House Business Committee will indicate, will actually prioritize. They have a mechanism of prioritizing business before the House, and then you have the third reading. Once the third reading has been done, and if it's a House which does not concern county governments, and it's a bill that should end in the National Assembly, then the next stage is the assent. So if the president assents to it, what the Constitution provides is that there will be 14 days. With first of all, for it to be published in the Gazette, it has to be within 7 days after assent. That is under Article 116. And then once it has been published, coming into force, what Article 116 provides is that it should be after 14 days. That law will come into force, but it also depends with legislation. There are certain legislations which have different commencement dates when they come into force. So, and then that is a legislation that originates in the National Assembly and is finalized in the National Assembly. But now it's a different ballgame. If it's a legislation which has to be submitted to the other House. So it actually means that the first reading has to be done, second reading.
To the Senate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And take the same process again.
Yes, yes. In fact, what the Constitution envisages,
Yeah.
if it's a bill that originates from the National Assembly,
Mm-hmm.
or probably originates from the Senate, and it's a bill that has to be submitted to the National Assembly, the
Mm-hmm.
process will start from the first reading, second reading. So it will take a longer time, and probably also depends on the goodwill
Mm-hmm.
of the political players.
Let me understand something for the sake of our viewers. The passing of the bill is where we see in Parliament, as many as of these say aye and
Yes,
nay. That's where
yes,
now and then we see the ayes have it or the nays have it. So that means the
yes,
bill has
yes,
either been rejected or has been passed
yes. At the third reading, at the third reading.
at the third reading. Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay. Salem, with all these, terminologies and processes, can really a normal citizen, Wanjiku, acquire basic jurisprudence of this process so that they hold their members of parliament and senators accountable based on this law? Because Arthur is asking here, can we really blame the president for the domestic or the foreign debts, the borrowing? Because all these things seems to be sanctioned by parliament. Okay, so can Wanjiku really attain basic jurisprudence to know exactly how to hold their members of parliament or senators accountable?
The answer to that question is yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in the sense that Parliament has made itself accessible.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find, for instance, if you search the Parliament's website, you'll find a lot of information about parliamentary processes. You'll find the
Okay.
answer there. You'll find the order paper. You'll find information
Mm-hmm.
materials, fact sheets. You'll find a lot of information on what occurs at Parliament.
Okay.
Number two, Parliament has sought to have parliamentary outreach, an
Mm-hmm.
open day, where visitors will come to Parliament on a particular day, and they'll be shown around. They'll be educated on what transpires in Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, these open days have been held sometime in August.
Mm-hmm.
And even when there are events like the agricultural shows, Parliament has been having a stand where the members of the public can pose questions and they are answered. But I'll also answer no, in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that most of these materials are still not accessible to the Wanjiku, in the sense that even the language itself is not accessible. You'll find a lot of parliamentary jargons. You'll
Okay.
find terms like motion, order paper, catching the speaker's eye, putting a question, which an ordinary citizen might not even really understand.
Okay.
And you'll find,
For example, what is catching the speaker's eye? What is that really? Can you maybe explain to that some of these terminologies?
actually,
Are
I'll
they
say catching the
parliamentary
attention.
or are they laws?
It's actually catching the speaker's attention.
Okay.
Yes. For instance, if you want to make a contribution, you have to catch the speaker's eye, in the sense that the speaker will recognize you and give you an opportunity to speak. So you'll find some of these terminologies are not really accessible to Wanjiku. And then number two, you'll find, yes, the information will be there, but is that information really digestible to Wanjiku? In the sense that you'll have a fact sheet, for instance, or you will have a document, but Wanjiku, probably there will be competing priorities, which Wanjiku will have, such that there are other pressing needs which Wanjiku will be concerned with than what occurs in Parliament. So you'll find, yes, the information will be there, but Wanjiku probably, given her economic situation, might not really be able to access that. Wanjiku might be semi-literate. Wanjiku probably, even with the translation of the standing orders to Kiswahili,
Yes.
you'll find there's a debate about
The language used.
even Kiswahili terminologies. Are
Yes.
they really accessible? For instance, if you say mess is siwa, which is the proper translation of the word mess, it's siwa. Is it something that is accessible to the general
and
population?
Understandable to a
Yes.
normal person who has basic Swahili?
Yes, and that's the debate that we have.
We've need for a lot of this, and our time is up. But Salem, I want to give you 1 minute to just make your closing remark. For our viewers, we'll continue with this discussion again in Swahili on Thursday, same time, 8:30 on Nasaa za Uongozi. So catch up on Nasaa za Uongozi on Thursday, Alhamisi, this week and next week also. So we're going to have more time in the Swahili broadcast. But we are sorry that today we have to end it there. But Salem, 1 minute to just finish your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. What I can say is that Parliament is the citadel of a democracy, in the sense that you cannot wish away Parliament. So the question is about how do we engage effectively with Parliament? And engaging effectively with Parliament means that we need to be aware about the tools that are available to us as citizens.
Yes.
One tool is on how we can write petitions to Parliament, so
Yes.
that Parliament can address the concerns that we have. Another tool is public participation. How effectively are we using that tool to make our voices heard in the parliamentary processes? So you'll find there are always opportunities which Parliament avails to citizens to make their contribution on what happens in Parliament. But most people might not be aware about these avenues, or even when they are aware about the avenues, they don't see how they can effectively engage on those tools so that they can make their voices heard. But it's a good opportunity to have this discussion so that we can see how effectively citizens can engage with Parliament. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And people are saying we need another session. I agree. We will need to bring you again for the Raw Leadership Talk to have like double sessions, just having this discussion on, so they breaking it down for the normal Mwananchi to really understand what goes in that August House and how they can participate indirectly, or even the whole issue of petitioning their members of Parliament to do the right thing. Thank you very much. And it's been the Raw Leadership Talk. Until next Tuesday, may God bless you very much. Thank you very much, Salem, for your contribution.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.